There's a couple of things I watched. One was a TED talk. I watched it a couple of years ago. You can look it up, about how we are essentially living inside a hallucination. So I talk by a neuroscientist who makes the very accurate and undeniable sort of pointed claim or fact that our reality, what we think is happening, is the result of electrical impulses in our brain kind of creating an interpretation. So if I pick up this glass of water and I feel the coldness and the taste and everything as it goes down my throat, that's not really happening. What's happening, this thing called consciousness, the space, electrical signals from my brain, if indeed there is a brain, have created a kind of interactive sensory movie inside my head that tells me that the water is cold and that it goes down my throat. It just tells me that this is true, and I believe it. In fact, it's impossible for me to not believe it, even though rationally I know what is happening. I know that I'm watching a movie inside a locked room in my head. I still believe that the water is real. And I look out into the world and I see trees and buildings out my window, and I can hear someone playing music. So I'm seeing things and I'm hearing things. And I'm convinced that they exist. Absolutely convinced, despite the fact that I know that this is an interpretation of data. If you look on your computer, let's say, or your phone or whatever, let's say you see an app, you see that little symbol and you click on it or you tap on it and the app opens up. You think that that's reality, but what's really happening, as any IT engineer will tell you, is it's just lines of code. Okay, it's ones and zeros, it's binary code, which then becomes like computer coding, HTML or whatever, and then that becomes the thing you see on the screen. But there isn't actually an app sitting on a screen. There isn't like the Windows. That's just an illusion that the computer creates to hide the code. And it's, I think, ironic that we as humans have invented computers to behave in this way, because that accurately reflects how our brains work. There is an objective reality of some kind which feeds code into our sensory input. And then the code is decoded, the encryption is solved, and we see the glass of water and the trees and the building. And yet those almost certainly don't exist the way we think they do. They are just a representation of a code. So I watched this TED talk and I couldn't sleep for like a week because I was just like, holy shit, I'm living in a hallucination inside of a trapped room all by myself. All the people in my life, all the experiences I've had, all the memories, they're all imaginary. While there might have been some actual substance to reality as some code that I'm receiving, the way I interpret it is not what it really is. I'm not seeing the raw data. I'm just seeing the fancy screen that the data hides behind. I don't even know if there are other people in reality. I don't know if I'm all by myself imagining all this, an entire universe inside one mind, or if there really are others like me. And I'll never know for sure, even though I feel certain about it, and having that feeling is like the easiest way to live. If I go around doubting the existence of everything, it's kind of hard to get out of bed. So my first reaction to this sort of philosophical awakening was pessimism, which brings me to another video I was about to mention, which was one I just watched. It's a compilation from True Detective, the first season, where Matthew McConaughey's character, Rustin Cole, talks about the philosophy of pessimism, the idea that human consciousness is a mistake and we just suffer through existence. We're not supposed to be aware of it, or something like that. And that was my first reaction to it, is I'm this prisoner trapped inside a room, imagining a life, imagining being a person. The only thing I know for sure is that that is not what is actually happening, that is the kind of magic trick, the illusion that I guess keeps me occupied while an actual existence occurs beyond my awareness. And, that kind of bummed me out. Like what's the point of anything if I'm basically a mental patient? But then I realized, why does that make a difference? Why does that matter? What reality actually is? Sam Harris put it quite beautifully. Like he's a neuroscientist and philosopher. And he was talking about, he knows that his daughter is basically just a collection of atoms, none of which even have any contact with each other. It happens at such a quantum small level we can't see it, but you could pass a beam of light right through me without touching the sides. Nothing's actually touching. We just think it is. But he doesn't look at his daughter and think, oh, look at this clump of atoms giving rise to cuteness in my awareness. He doesn't think like that. He just goes, oh, my daughter, I love her. He functions with the reality as it is rather than getting bummed out about it. He's kind of able to hold these two things without having cognitive dissonance. On one hand, he knows that his daughter is probably just a clump of atoms, and that whether she's real or not, his imagination of her in his head is just an interpretation. She might not even exist in the way that he thinks she does. So he can understand that, but on the other hand, understand, well, the reality that I know of is that I have this beautiful little daughter. So that's the reality I'm going to play in. And being able to hold these two simultaneously allows you to have both certainty and uncertainty at the same time. To know always that we actually have no idea what even the fundamental reality is. And yet being able to go, well, based on what I know, I think this is the most true thing, so I'm going to go with that. The reason I bring this up, let's say you take a hot topic issue at the moment, Biden versus Trump. That's a good one. It doesn't matter what country you're in, everyone's got an opinion. It really should only matter to Americans, if anyone, but everyone in the world's got an opinion about who should win that election, even though America's no longer a superpower in the world, really. But that's a hot topic issue. Everyone gets all worked up about right and wrong on that particular issue. But if you start from the position of, I don't even know for sure that Biden and Trump exist, that there is an America, that there is even a planet, and then have a look at the issue, you can come at it from a much more, what I call in my next book, a cosmic perspective. And understanding, like, you don't need to get lost in the details. Who's better, Trump or Biden, blah, blah. You can sort of step back and go, look, the reality is us humans thinking the way we do ended up in this situation. And the people who vote for Biden do so because in their reality, Biden is this great thing and Trump is this monster. And then the people who vote for Trump, in their reality, Trump is the hero and Biden is this geriatric fucking mess. And each one of them is so certain of their reality. And yet none of us are right. We're all wrong. Every single one of us, not a single human on the planet accurately perceives reality as it is. Just like nobody, not even the best computer scientists in the world, can look at a computer screen that's on the Windows page and actually see the code. They can't, even though they know it's there, they can't see it. Their eyes won't let them believe that that's code. They'll still see the icons. They'll still move the arrow with the mouse and think that that's all real. What I'm getting to with this is what started as a very pessimistic kind of nihilistic viewpoint for me, where I was like, fuck, what's the point of everything? This is just I'm just a dream of a person. I was like, well, even if I am, doesn't mean I can't play in my dream. It doesn't mean I can't move within the dream and enjoy it as much as I possibly can. And it also allows me, like, if there are other people out there, if that's not an illusion, there are other people like me, and they're having the same problem that I'm having where they don't know what reality is, but they have to be certain of something. Maybe I could have some sympathy for them about that. That maybe even if I think Biden should win and Trump should lose, that doesn't mean the people voting for Trump are worse than me. It doesn't mean that they're stupider than me. We are both absolutely convinced by our imagined realities. That makes us equals, not enemies. And in fact, the Biden-Trump one's a great example, because when you step back, you can see that neither of them are great leaders. We've seen what great leaders look like. We've seen the Nelson Mandelas and the Simon Sineks and the Marcus Aureliuses. These guys don't even come close to that. Neither of them do. Not even, doesn't matter who you are, in no one's reality are they the best leaders the world anyone has ever seen. So it almost doesn't matter who you vote for, because you're getting a mediocre leader either way. So, compassion, sympathy, understanding. When you realize that we're all lost inside an illusion, trying our very best to figure out what's real and what's not, and all failing at it because it's not possible to figure it out. That we're all suffering in that same way together, that we all think we're right when we're wrong. Maybe we're not enemies. Maybe the only thing that really is real to us is that shared suffering. Like whenever you're in a conversation and both of you are confused about something, there's a connection there. Like neither of us know what's going on, but at least we're both confused together. Maybe that's a better way to look at hot topic issues than that person is my enemy, they're different to me. Because if that person does exist with a human brain, then they're the same as you, not different. Even if they've ended up at a different outcome, it comes from the same confusion and the same illusion. So there's a little depth on a Tuesday for you. And I'm going to go back to thinking that my wife is home, hanging out with her and believing that she's real, because that works out pretty well for me compared to sitting in my room thinking, oh my God, there is no reality. I'll see you guys next time.